Good morning, everyone. Good to see everyone this morning. I will now call this meeting to order. I'll call the meeting of the Board and State Community Corrections to order and welcome to everyone. And thank you all for joining us today. Um, First, I want to say thank you to all the board members who are in person in our meeting today. And I know in the rain and in all the weather and the crazy wind that's been happening, I appreciate all of you who were able to actually make it to Sacramento today. I'm also thankful for all of our members who are going to be joining us remotely this morning. Thank you all for being here as well. As you can tell, I am not Linda Penner, the chair of the Board of State and Community Corrections. I'm Kirk Haynes, the Chief Probation Officer for Fresno County and the co-chair for the BSCC. And I just want to just let you know that Linda was not able to be here this morning, but of course we're going to carry on and move forward with all of our work that we have going on today. Yeah, let's see if we do that. Um, Dr. Karen Lai, Jeff McComber, and Angeles Zaragoza are all joining us online by Zoom. So I want to say thank you again for the three of you being there. And Dr. Lai is in a public location this morning. Just confirming that, Dr. Lai, you are in a public location, and that location can be found on the BSCC's website if anyone is interested in attending in person at Dr. Lai's location.
That's correct.
All right, sounds good. And so now I'm going to ask Natalia, and good to see you, Natalia. Now, Natalia is the new Adam, right? And so I want to say thank you and a chance for us to be able to finally, for me to get the chance to meet you. But Natalia is going to provide instructions on public participation in today's meeting.
Thank you, Chair Haynes. Good morning, everyone. We are meeting both in person and virtually, and we will support public participation during this meeting through the Zoom webinar platform. Board members, for those participating remotely, if you wish to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom or physically raise your hand so we can see you. Members in the room, please remember to state your name before making a comment so that those participating remotely may know who is speaking. Regarding voting, all agenda items that require a vote will require a roll call vote at the end of each agenda item. Board members in the room, please remember to turn off your microphones when you are not speaking, and please remember to speak into your microphone so that all on Zoom may hear you. Members of the public, we will give the members of the public the opportunity to comment after the presentation of each agenda item and prior to the board voting on an item. You will have 2 minutes for your comment. After your 2 minutes have ended, I will verbally let you know, and you may watch the screen where we will display the 2-minute timer and those who are in the queue. We encourage anyone wishing to make a public comment to raise their hand at the start of each agenda item being discussed. Members of the public will not have the ability to unmute yourself during discussion until the chair opens it up for public comment. You must raise your hand on Zoom or send a request through public comment at bscc.ca.gov. This is also available on our website. If you've sent in a request through the public comment email box, I will call on the email address or identifier you provided in your email. If you're calling by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand. Dial *6 to unmute yourself. I will call on those who have raised their hands and those who have emailed your request to speak, and I will ask you to unmute yourself. I will notify you when the 2-minute timer sounds. In addition, we will have a 2-minute timer visible on the screen, so please try to keep track of your time. When the time is up, you must complete your comment so that we have the opportunity to hear from everyone who wants to make a comment. Also, if your comment aligns with other speakers, please feel free to associate your comment with prior speakers. Thank you for your patience and understanding as we work to ensure all speakers can be heard. Agenda item 5 is the opportunity for any member of the public to make a comment on any agenda items or other comments in general. We will call the members on Zoom first, then the members here in Sacramento, then in San Pablo. Public participants in the room, when it is time for public comment, please form a line at the podium, and if you wish to, please state your name. For members of the public attending in San Pablo, we will call on Board Member Lai for the number of public commenters and give them an opportunity to speak. As a reminder, you may follow along and view the list of those in the public comment queue by visiting www.bscc.ca.gov and clicking on the link to the agenda. Chair Haynes, that concludes my instructions.
Thank you, Natalia. Very good job. And now I'm also going to welcome Chair Pinner. I see Chair Pinner has joined us on Zoom, and hopefully Chair Pinner, I can take the seat and I won't run this thing into the ground, but I'm so thankful that you're here to kind of look and watch over us.
Yeah, thanks a lot. As you can tell, I have a little bit of an issue. Um, I actually originally wasn't going to be there because I had a new grandchild and I'm doing babysitting grandma duties.
Right.
And then I got this so that I could really solidify your empathy as we go through this meeting. So I appreciate you doing this for me, Kirk. To the rest of you who are taking a great deal of pleasure hearing my voice weak, it's not nice to be cruel to an ill woman. So thanks a lot. I promise to be brief because I'm having a hard time talking.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chair Pinner, and congratulations on the birth of your grandson, correct?
Yes, thanks.
All right. Good deal. All right. And so Natalia, I'm sorry, the other thing I wanted to announce is that I'm pleased to report that since our last board meeting, Sheriff Taylor and I have been confirmed by the California State Senate to another term for myself and an initial term for Sheriff Taylor. And I want to just say congratulations, Sheriff Taylor. Do you have any words or anything you wanted to say?
Just thank the governor's office staff and the BSCC staff for preparing us clearly adequately for our hearing, and congratulations again to you, Mr. Chair.
All right, and thank you so much. And I want to say thank you again to the governor's office and to the BSCC staff for the preparation and for the governor's staff as well. We were really well supported at the hearing. So I want to just say thank you so much for that. And now we're going to be turning to our informational items under item number 2, under the chair's report. One thing I do want to just make a point is that we will be removing agenda item G, determination of suitability of the Los Angeles County Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall. And we'll ask Aaron to provide a little bit more detail on that issue during his executive director's report. But we're going to stay on that we're going to stay that agenda item until our next board meeting in April. And then that's all I have. And so Aaron, we're going to move right into your legislative and legal updates.
Thank you, Chair Haynes. And I just want to also add my congratulations on the confirmation. I do want to point out that is a mandatory 3-year term. So I appreciate taking the time. And actually, before we begin the executive director updates, I'd like to make sure we ask Natalia to call the roll and establish a quorum.
Sorry about that. We did skip over that. And so Natalia, let's go ahead and take the roll to establish a quorum. Thank you.
Chair Haynes,
Present.
Ms. Penner,
Present.
Mr. McCumber,
Here.
Mr. Johnson,
Good morning, here.
Mr. Taylor,
Here.
Ms. Branning is en route. Ms. Guard? Here. Mr. Scott?
Here.
Mr. Budnick?
Here.
Ms. Zaragoza?
Here.
Ms. Kumpion? Here. Ms. Lai?
Here.
Chair Haynes, we have a quorum.
And thank you. And we're off to a rocking and rolling start. I already forgot to take the roll, but we're going to keep it going. We're all right. Now we're going to go to Aaron's executive director report.
Thank you. Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I do want to start off with an update concerning the status of Los Angeles County and the Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall. Obviously, we've had a lot of discussion about that. Update from the last time that we conducted a reinspection of the facility was in December. Youth are still presently at Los Padrinos. What has most recently happened is Los Angeles County requested an additional reinspection with respect to their staffing issues on January 21st. And last week, our field representatives, Lisa Southwell and Ray Watson, went down there and began that reinspection. They reviewed documents, reviewed video, spoke with youth and staff. However, the reinspection is not complete. We are still reviewing information. We're still requesting additional information. We haven't had the opportunity to debrief with Los Angeles yet. We do not view this reinspection as being finished yet, and which is why we are looking to continue out until the April board meeting. I do want to note some preliminary observations in terms of what we are seeing with this more recent inspection. Staffing is improved from the December inspection. A significant number of more shifts are being staffed in accordance with Los Angeles's current staffing plan. There are more staff available to provide one-on-one supervision when needed. The population at Los Padrinos is down from what it was in September and October. It's a notable decrease, and significant in terms of making sure that the staff and the population is matching up and providing a safer environment. Speaking to youth and staff in the units, things are improving. For example, youth are not being placed in their rooms for long periods of time at the moment, that was occurring due to lack of staffing, which we saw previously. Other things that we have been concerned about, which we were tying directly to problems with staffing, was that youth not getting to school, youth not having requisite programs, recreation and exercise, not getting to their medical appointments that they were missing due to staffing issues. All of these areas are improving. However, we need to keep evaluating these areas. And then I want to point out that they're only meeting their staffing right now because of those redeployments from field staff. So it is still very much a fragile and a fragile situation down there. And that is why we are not recommending a vote on suitability today, which is why we're pulling that agenda item. And then with that in mind, what we want to be looking towards in April is, again, if youth continue to remain at Los Padrinos, is just a reminder at the end of December, we had approved a corrective action plan related to the comprehensive inspection, which also took place at the end of 2024. There were other items of noncompliance related to that inspection, things involving use of force, room confinement, use of restraints, grievances, issuing of clothing, and visiting. That corrective action plan is supposed to be getting completed and done in March, and that is why we think it's appropriate to reevaluate everything over the course of March and then discuss it all at the April board meeting. And that's my update on Los Padrinos. Turning to some additional updates, I want to speak to issues involving our grants division. We're currently seeking individuals to participate on upcoming scoring panels. The first scoring panel that we're looking to it for is the Adult Reentry Grant. We are looking for individuals. These are volunteers, and I'm speaking not just to board members, but to anyone in the public. We are looking for individuals with either lived or work experience in housing and reentry services. We'd really appreciate people to volunteer to score those proposals. We are also looking for people to help score grant proposals with respect to the CalVIP. That's pending board approval today. That scoring panel would likely convene in September. We anticipate a pretty high demand for that grant, and so we want to start recruiting for grant raters early. Also looking for people with experience, lived experience, or who are working in community-based violence intervention efforts. But of course, with the caveat that you can't also apply for the money if you want to participate in those scoring panels. And then the third grant we are looking to recruit for is the Burn Skip, which we will also be talking about today. Again, looking for people with any background in law enforcement, community, courts, behavioral health providers, or victim services. Individuals who are interested in any of those grant scoring panels may contact our grants division through our website or by reaching out to our grant staff. An additional update I want to turn to is our strategic plan. As you are aware, the board approved the launch of a new strategic planning process during the October 2024 meeting. A new strategic plan was deemed necessary to reflect significant policy and organizational changes to the board. This includes new board positions, changes in specific membership to our board, and also the establishment of the in-custody death review division and director, and also in response to an executive order which directed state agencies to include additional data analysis and inclusive practices into strategic plans. We've drafted some goals and objectives, and we are now in the process of seeking public comment to identify changes, modifications, or other additions that should be considered. These draft goals and objectives will be available on the BSCC website under the newsroom section for public review and comment on Thursday, February 20th, and we will leave that up there for comment until March 6th. Turning to one other item, I want to speak a little bit to Proposition 47 and Proposition 36. As the board is aware, we administer the Proposition 47 grant, which has allowed the board to fund mental health and substance use disorder treatment services. Since its inception, we have put out about $490 million out to local jurisdictions and community-based organizations since the start of the program. Proposition 36, which just recently passed, modified Proposition 47 to increase penalties for certain theft and drug crimes. Because of those changes, we anticipate that the savings used to fund Prop 47 grant programs will decrease in future years due to increasing levels at CDCR. I do want to just highlight for the board that the funding for existing grantees will not be affected. We had enough grant funds on hand to fully fund the programs that we just recently funded. And so even if that Prop 47 funding decreases in the out years, it won't impact our existing grantees. I also want to point out Prop 36 now also allows courts to impose mandatory drug treatment programs. There is no funding included in Prop 36 to fund those programs. However, there is language in Prop 36 which gives discretion to the BSCC to fund drug treatment programs out of Prop 47 savings. And because of that, we are potentially looking at additional leftover Prop 47 funds to potentially fund additional drug treatment programs. Don't want to discuss that further today, but we anticipate bringing an item to the board for April or June for further discussion. With that, I'd like to just go down on the executive director's report. We're going to do an update from the in-custody death review division. But before we turn to that and ask Allison for updates, I just wanted to see if there are any questions on any of the items that I've already presented.
Right. Thank you, Aaron. Any board comments or questions for Aaron in regard to his report?
I do.
Yes, go ahead,
Thank you.
Annalise.
Thank you. Erin, I understand that the reinspection for LP is not complete, but is it correct to say that they are still considered unsuitable and out of compliance?
They are still unsuitable.
And we expect do we know when that reinspection will be considered final?
No, not at this time.
Would it be before Judge Espinoza reconvenes in his court regarding LP?
No, because that's tomorrow.
Do we expect to provide court an update on LP?
We are not a party to the proceedings, and we have not been asked to provide any updates.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Zaragoza. Any other
Chair?
comment? I'm sorry, yes, Chief Scott.
Thank you, Chair. Haynes, there's just one question on Prop 36, Prop 47. You mentioned that there's an anticipated increase in incarceration. Do we have any estimate of what that might look like?
They're just projections right now, and so I'm going to look back and see if, Colleen, do we know what the potential decrease in the savings are for this year? Well, Yeah, we're anticipating a decrease, but I don't think we have the numbers of what that's projected to be in the fall yet.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Aaron? All right, we could take public you want to take public comment on this now, or do you want to wait till Allison comes up?
Let's do public, I'm sorry, let's do Allison's brief on in custody death review updates.
All right, thank you. So yeah, we'll have Allison Ganter come and provide our in custody death review division update. Good morning.
Oh, and thank you, Sean. Should I say that again? Okay. Okay. And good morning to my colleagues and members of the community. I'm Allison Ganter, the director of the In Custody Death Review Division. When I was sworn in 4 years ago, goodness gracious, 4 months ago, I outlined my vision for the division and how we'd move forward. And I want to just share a brief update on what we've done so far. So my goals for the first phase of the ICDR division included standing up the division, understanding what family members and community members their needs were, understanding processes in jails and the information that's available out there, and then analyzing our data. So I'll quickly go through each of the goals and what we've done so far. First, obviously, stand up the division, build the team. I'm happy to say in the last 4 months, we've hired 50% of the 10 positions allocated for this fiscal year. By April, we'll have brought on nearly all of the 10 positions allocated for year one, so which is fantastic. We have 2 researchers. I want to thank Michael Lee for jumping in and being our first employee, our first team member. Michael's our research data supervisor too. Jerry Yan is our researcher. He's our research data analyst. I'm delighted to announce that we now have an attorney. Aloysa Tuitama is joining us as the ICDR attorney, which is absolutely fantastic, and really looking forward to working with Aloysa again. We've hired 2 field representatives. The first will start this month and another will start shortly after that. And then next we'll concentrate on filling our analyst staff and additional field representatives. So another goal was to understand what family members and community members were interested in, what they needed, and namely what information would have been helpful to them upon notification that they had lost a loved one in a detention facility. So we've met with family members and advocacy groups. We continue to stay in contact with those folks. We've held 2 listening sessions, one in San Diego, one here in Sacramento, and we're planning 2 more, one in the Bay Area, one in Los Angeles. So stay tuned for those dates. We also really want to understand what information is out there. So we've spent time visiting with facility administrators, medical examiners, investigative staff out there. We've talked with agencies across the state and the nation that do similar work so we can make sure that we're on the right track. While this is new to us as a state agency in California for local detention facilities, other places like New York have been doing this work for quite some time. So we're grateful to have some colleagues out there. And finally, just again, beginning to analyze the data that we have. We've been collecting data since July of 2024. We have a general picture of what's happening statewide. We need to dig in a little bit more. What we don't have is follow-up on our initial reports. So many of the reports that we have show that the cause and means of death are pending investigation. So as we staff up, we're going to be able to go out and get some of that follow-up information so we have even more meaningful data. So in our next phase, again, we're going to be focused on onboarding our new team members, defining and developing the scope of our review, getting follow-up information on those deaths that have happened, and then, of course, beginning those reviews. For the next budget year, we anticipate getting funding for 17 more positions, which will include a significant number of medical and behavioral health positions. We'll definitely, once we have those team members on board, be better to review investigations of death from the medical and behavioral health lens. So I've said this before, I'll say this again, time is one of our challenges. There's urgency to this work, and we're being thoughtful and mindful to make sure that we get it right. And I really look forward to providing you with more updates in the future. And I'm also happy to take any questions. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Allison. Are there any questions from board members regarding Allison's report? Yes, Ms. Kumpion.
I'm just wondering about, thank you so much for all your work. And how did the listening sessions go in Sacramento and San Diego?
Sacramento, I will say, was very quiet. We had a few people in the audience and several members online. There wasn't as much activity, I would say, in Sacramento. San Diego was fantastic. In that it was really well attended. It was difficult in that we had many family members sharing really heartfelt and dreadful stories of their family members. So that was that part was difficult, but it was amazing to be in a room with people and really understand what people were looking for. Our scope is narrow. We can't do everything. So I think it was a really important space to understand what people need, but also to start to explain what our role is and what we can and we can't do. So it went, I think, an hour or two longer than it should have. It was something, yeah. And it's online if anybody would like to see that. The Sacramento one is a little bit less wordy, I guess I would say, but both of them are online if people would like to watch them.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. And also I see Dr. Lai, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Just as a medical provider and a behavioral health provider, I'm wondering if there's a place where I can be of use now in the process, or I would also like to be really in support of the Bay Area listening session.
Funny you should say that, and stay tuned.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. We absolutely intend to rely on you for your expertise and your proximity to the Bay Area for the upcoming listening session. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board comments? All right, thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Good job. And Aaron, back to you to finish up your report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one other item that was on the agenda. There was a reference to the Los Angeles County Probation Department appeal. I'll just note that appeal is still pending, and we will. It's still pending. So that is the appeal based on the last reinspection from December and some other items.
Thank you. So we can take public comment now before we go to your legislative and legal update? Or have you already done, is that part of your?
Let's finish the 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll do the legislative update, legal update,
let's
then
do
take
it.
public comment.
Thank you.
Very briefly on the legislative update, we do track legislation that directly impacts the BSCC. That information is just in your binder for newer board members. It's just for information. The board doesn't take positions on legislation, but we just want to keep you apprised of that. There's only one bill that's in there right now. The last day to introduce bills is February 21st. And so nothing really to discuss, and really it's too early to discuss bills that are even just introduced right now. So just look in your binder, and then a brief legal update, just as a reminder, and I think a lot of you have been, we have several grants that we're going to be dealing with in the discussion items. Please be mindful of your recusals. And then we'll have additional discussion about some issues in closed session today. And then one item I do just want to flag for everyone, we have been getting questions from our federal grantees about potential federal funding freezes. There has been memos issued and memos rescinded recently. So far, those things happening at the federal level have not impacted our grants yet. We are able to draw down our funds right now. As a reminder, in the prior Trump administration, the state of California sued regarding additional conditions that were attached to our grants. We've seen some early memos suggesting that that might happen again. And so we will keep the board advised of when and if the state of California gets involved in litigation involving our grants. So more updates to come on that, I'm sure. And with that, that includes my report, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Aaron. Any other comments for Aaron in regard to those most up-to-date, that information that he just provided from Aaron? All right, seeing none, then we will move on to public comment. And Natalia, do we have any public comment online?
Yes, we do. And if anyone has a public comment on any of the information items, raise your hand on Zoom. Can we get the timer up? First, we have Yusuf Miller. You can unmute yourself.
Good morning, BSCC Board Chair and Board. I want to thank you for hosting this today, and I want to give a huge thank you to Allison Ganser, who came out to San Diego County. Let me start with, I'm Yusuf Miller, Executive Director of the North County Equity and Justice Coalition, Saving Lives in Custody, California. And we had a great listening session with Allison Ganser, Michael Lee, and her team. It was really robust with the families sharing their information and their concerns, and also with ideas coming from either the director herself or from the family. So it was really interactive and engaging. We really want to thank you. And with that note being said, we also invite Dr. Lee for a listening session in San Diego as well, as soon as available. And you can contact me at Yusef, Y-U-S, EFM@hotmail.com, so we can start working on this and scheduling a listening session. There'll be the same format where we want to hear from Dr. Lee and what her ideas and plans are for the chair that she holds, and also with the ideas that are coming from impacted family members and the advocates that support them. We do not ever intend for it to be an ambush type meeting or an aggressive meeting in the nature of negatively. We want to make sure that we're all on the same page, and whatever programs that come out from each chair, that it's something that can hit the road running, and then that way we can get the best possible outcome from each of these chairs and seats. So that is an open invitation. I look forward to hearing from you soon, Dr. Lee. And I want to, again, with copious thanks from myself and a lot of the family members, for Allison Ganser, her patience and her knowledge on the subject, and willing to sit down and speak with us in San Diego County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Paloma Serna. You can unmute yourself.
Hello, my name is Paloma Serna. I am with North County Equity and Justice Coalition and the Saving Lives in Custody, California. Also, I am the mother of Elisa Serna, who died November 11, 2019 at the Las Colinas detention facility. Also, I would like to thank Allison Ganter and Michael Lee for visiting San Diego and letting us have the listening session. It was very helpful. It was great to have her and Michael hear our stories about our loved ones. I know my daughter's case will not be investigated by BSCC, by the in custody death review director, but still I would like to share the video of my daughter's death with Dr. Karen Lee, or Lai, I'm sorry, just as a so she could grasp in what we are, what we're dealing with, not just in San Diego County, but throughout the state of California. I had a federal judge grant us permission. He released the videos, and it is made public. And so another thing too, we would like Yusuf stated, to have Dr. Karen to come out and do a listening session, but also too, if there's anything that you guys could do. What we've starting to notice is that the sheriff in San Diego, Kelly Martinez, is starting to do these compassion release to keep her numbers low. We need to look into that and get justice for the families that lost a loved one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Millie Kakani. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Hi, my name's Millie Kakani. I'm with the Children's Defense Fund, and I'm also a member of the Probation Oversight Commission. And I'm giving this comment in my capacity as the Director of Youth Justice at Children's Defense Fund. LP has not just been out of compliance for over 60 days now, but it is operating illegally. 250 or so kids being subject to a facility that cannot for years consistently meet the most minimum of standards, causing harm and neglect that often results in dependency cases against parents is wildly unacceptable. So beyond a fragile situation, I think, as Mr. McGuire described it, it is actually the antithesis of rehabilitation. It is traumatic, and again, primarily, it is illegal. Regardless of LA's continued justification for these conditions, young people are paying a pretty steep price for this political theater. And my sincere hope is that you all continue to hold LA accountable. And since you are the judge and jury in this instance, there's no reason for this appeal to remain pending. So I urge you to make a decision to move forward so that young people can be in a place where they are safe and where they have the opportunity to do better, be better, and not be subjected to decades of trauma that they're going to have to deal with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Helen Eigenberg. You can unmute yourself and speak.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. My name is Helen Eigenberg. I live in Los Angeles County. I'm a constituent, obviously. I'm a part of a grassroots group called Hang Out Do Good, and I am dismayed. What is happening at Los Padrinos is unforgivable. These are kids, and you and the Board of Supervisors and Judge Espinozo continue to kick this can down the road at the risk to these kids. I'm really trying to understand this. I'm not involved in criminal justice work. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a human being. And I find this so utterly disturbing and heartbreaking. And it's hard for me to really believe that the state of California, that the county of Los Angeles that cares about, these are kids. And we continue to be okay. We all go home to our homes at night and we're all okay. And these kids continue to sit in Los Padrinos and we know what is happening. And I urge you all, someone needs to step up and take the lead. Please make a decision. These are children. We are responsible for them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Lena Mallet. You can unmute yourself.
My name is Lena Mallet. I'm with the Children's Defense Fund based in LA. When you mentioned in your introduction that youth are still presently at Los Padrinos, it would be helpful to note, to Millie's point, that to the public listening, that Los Padrinos is in fact still unsuitable and thus has been operating against the board's orders, that the facility has been detaining youth illegally, and that judges in LA County are also knowingly dispositioning youth to such a facility which, as you indicated, is only just barely meeting basic staffing levels, and only because they are deploying extraordinary and impermanent measures to which they are actually filed under lawsuit currently. Please do not make us remind you that this will not last. Even with the Board of Supervisors claiming a countywide state of emergency and relinquishing all of their power to the chief, we are still witnessing unacceptable levels of incompetence and inaction. These measures will not hold, and you know that to be true. Additionally, your decision not to reaffirm the facility's unsuitability allows for the LA County Board of Supervisors to remain paralyzed. This gives them permission to keep claiming that their hands are tied, and it means that tomorrow, at the order to show cause, it is likely again that Judge Espinoza will point any kind of decisive action, allowing for the continued suffering and negligence of these youth inside. Do better.
Thank you. Next, we have Tahira Shakur. You can unmute yourself.
Are you there?
We will move to Jazara Halliday. You can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Good morning. My name is Jazar Holiday with the Youth Justice Coalition. Today, I'm here to tell you what you already know very, very well yourself, that Los Padrinos is not the place to be for a child, for anybody for that matter. They don't have the basic necessities, the basic learning tools, just everything that they don't have. Give me 1 second. I feel like it's very sad that parents actually go to jail for child neglect and X, Y, and Z, and you guys have these kids locked in here under unsuitable conditions, and y'all continue to keep like trying to justify or like correction action plans. Like it's just always all these distractions instead of just being fully accountable and letting these children go that can actually go home. Um, yeah, that's all I have today.
Thank you.
For some reason, I couldn't unmute. I can go now. I'm Toda Shakur.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Toda Shakur, and I'm here with the Justice Coalition. It is deeply upsetting and disheartening to sit here and hear reports about Los Padrinos, a facility that continuously remains out of compliance. The reality is probation is taking small steps in the right direction, such as keeping kids in the room less and allowing them to attend school or participate in some programming. But let's be clear, this is not something we should be applauding, because if any parent were to keep their children in the room at home, not allowing them to go to school or to take a part in essential activities, that parent would be arrested. There would be no sympathy or empathy given for their struggles. So why is it that probation continues to get a pass for keeping kids confined in their rooms? And like we heard earlier, youth in these facilities are suffering. This isn't due to probation. This isn't and youth in the number of youth inside are starting to go down, and this has nothing to do with probation. It's because folks are starting to invest in yes teams and credible messengers, which have been proven models that show youth can thrive when they have community support, not when they're locked away. It's also incredibly frustrating that there is no clear timeline or transparency about compliance report. When a parent is under investigation by DCFS, they have a set amount of time to meet the necessary requirements. Why isn't the same level of accountability being held for these facilities? This Valentine's Day, as a reflection of love, let's show these young people the love and care that they deserve. Incarceration does not equal care, community does. Studies and experts have consistently shown that youth incarceration does more harm than good. We don't need more juvenile halls like the ones at Los Padrinos. We need investment in communities based programs that help young people thrive and stay out of the system altogether. So as we celebrate love, let's pretend like we love our young people and
Thank
free
you.
them from the shackles of incarceration. Thank you.
Next, we're going to Jacob Black Jackson. You can unmute yourself.
How y'all doing? Good afternoon. My name is Jacob Jackson. I'm with the Youth Justice Coalition. Thank y'all for having me on here today. And I would like to say specifically, I'm here to demand the shutdown of juvenile halls that have been found out of compliance and have still failed to come into compliance. We acknowledge and appreciate the transparency and oversight that has been provided regarding the operation of juvenile halls. However, young people should not be locked down in facilities that are unsafe, especially during emergencies like this recent wildfires, which directly threaten these halls. Their well-being must be at the forefront of every decision. Under probation control, these juvenile halls have become rampant with neglect and remain unchecked. They have remained, they have failed the youth they claim to serve. Instead of continuing to invest in broken systems, we demand an investment in decarceration strategies and alternatives to incarceration, programs that truly support and uplift our young people rather than punish them. The time for change is now. Shut down the facilities that fail to meet the compliance and prioritize real solutions that keep young people safe and supported. I'd just like to say that on behalf of other callers that have mentioned what young people life is like when they're in the juvenile hall, you feel me, 24/7 lockdown in such a way, and not enough time for programming, not enough time to work on themselves, not enough time to reflect on their crimes, their action, like what is going on and how to move forward, how to create an entry level plan. When leaving out that system, as soon as they get in there, how do we like literally pour into young people's lives so they don't even want to think about committing the same atrocities they did, but actually being transformed from that whole process. And so I don't believe the juvenile halls does that. I've seen community-based organizations do that. And some of the organizations that go inside the juvenile halls are the ones that are actually providing the program and actually giving young people relief. And so this is doing it on the outside and on the inside. Thank you.
Thank you. George Villa, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you. And hello, everyone. Good morning to the members of the BSCC board. My name is George Villa. I'm the policy and program manager for Milpa. We're based out of Salinas and Watsonville. In regards to this LA Times article that was talked about the Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall, citing a significant void or out of compliance. In other words, youth are not being rehabilitated. And while the juvenile justice system seems to be under a lot of astronomical crisis, this also means that there's a huge disconnection the way staff and youth have relations. One of the things that as a formerly incarcerated California Youth Authority Division of Juvenile Justice, and when I was at UC Davis, I also went inside of the Division of Juvenile Justice. The Milpa organization was in there for 3 years. The youth never gave us any problems. The staff were very surprised of how much there was a connection there, based on programs culturally rooted in love, in community, in healing, and trauma-informed practices. We're suggesting that the local and county officials are held accountable. It's not fair that parents have to lose sleep at night or youth are under shambles. I know how it is to be in a facility where there is no adequate staff. And this has been going on throughout the DJJ. That's why it was closed down. So we're asking to urgently include those that are proximal to the problem, those community faith-based, and those that are formerly incarcerated. There needs to be a community intervention, something that's going to uplift everyone, and it has to be centered on those that have lived experience and also that are doing community work from a proximal relationship. Thank you so much. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Jeffrey Hines, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Hines. I am the Youth Development Coordinator at YJC, Youth Justice Coalition. I have been in youth development for over 7 going on 8 years now. And I feel like I'm an expert working with at-risk youth. We are sitting here talking about holding people accountable. That's what this is about, right? But the people that are holding people accountable aren't holding themselves accountable. This place has been out of compliance for way too long. There needs to be a change. We are not rehabilitating our youth. We are just getting them prepared for the adult prisons. They need more programming. They need more support, which they are not receiving inside. And that is the truth. Understaffed, youth aren't getting the resources that they need to become whole and full. And I believe, because of my experience, that when you meet the needs of youth, their basic needs, that they are able to become healthy members of society. And if we can't do the basics of giving them that, then we are failing them. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's it for the Zoom comments. Dr. Lai, do you have any at your location?
No, I don't.
That's it for public comment. We don't have any in the room.
All right, thank you, Natalia. We have no other public comment online or in the room. Any other comments by board members before we move on? All right, thank you. Seeing none, then there's no vote required. This was an informational item here, so we will move on to our consent calendar. Before we go to that, do we have any recusals on any of the consent items from any of the board members this morning?
We shouldn't have for these.
Okay. Good deal. So any board members wish to pull an item from our consent calendar today? All right. Seeing none, then we do have 2 items on consent this morning, and hopefully folks have had a chance to review those. And if not, then I will ask for a motion to approve our consent items for this morning.
I motion to approve the consent items.
Thank you, Chief Scott.
Second.
And thank you, Sheriff Taylor. We'll hear the roll on the vote.
Public comment first.
I'm sorry, public comment first? Yes, public comment. Do we have any public comment, Natalia?
Anyone on Zoom, raise your hand if you have a comment on our consent items. There are no public comment right now.
Any in the room?
None in the room.
All right, thank you. So we have a previous motion from Chief Scott and a second from Sheriff Taylor. Let's hear the roll call.
Chair Haynes,
Yes.
Ms. Penner,
Yes.
Mr. McCumber,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Ms. Branning is en route. Ms. Guard,
Aye.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Budnick,
Yes.
Ms. Zaragoza,
Yes.
Ms. Kumpion,
Yes.
Ms. Lai.
Yes.
Chair Haynes, we have enough votes for the motion to carry for the consent items, but we will leave the roll open for Ms. Branning.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And moving on to item number 4, it's, we have an action item under discussion items for the California Violence and Intervention Cal VIP grant. Now, Aaron, I'm going to have to recuse myself from this item, so how do you want to proceed?
I believe Madam Chair is going to virtually take the gavel just to handle this item. And then Chief Scott is also going to recuse.
Yes.
I'm in a recuse also.
Okay. And if you're recusing, then Mr. Budnick should probably recuse as well.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Well, okay. Has the room been cleared?
They're getting there.
Okay. Is there anybody left in the room, Aaron?
We do have 3 left in the room. So
All right.
Sheriff Taylor, Mr. Johnson, and Ms. Guard are in the room.
Okay, thank you. Is Tony there up at the podium? There you go.
It's fine.
Okay. Go ahead and proceed.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm a field representative.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Tony Knapp, Field Representative with the Corrections Planning and Grant Programs Division. Today, I will be presenting Agenda Item C, as recommended by the Cal VIP Executive Steering Committee. The item requests board approval for the Cal VIP's ESC's plan to distribute approximately $10.5 million in Cal VIP fund capacity building efforts. These funds are authorized by statute to provide outside training, technical assistance, and other capacity building activities for Cal VIP grantees, as well as supporting community violence effort statewide. Community violence intervention is also referred to as CVI. The plan is to include 6 key initiatives: training and certification for professionals, for data collection and program evaluation, statewide convening by professionals, technical assistance for nonprofit organizations aiming to implement CVI projects, grant management support for Cal VIP grantees, and mental health services and support to frontline workers. Collectively, these initiatives will enable experts to enhance the overall effectiveness and impact of the community-based violence intervention and prevention programs. I would like to provide a brief background of the Cal VIP Capacity Building Initiative to include an overview of available funding. Assembly Bill 762, enacted in 2023, allows BSCC, with the advice from the Cal VIP ESC, to set aside up to 5% of total funds appropriated for the Cal VIP grant program annually. These funds are designated for training and capacity building activities in the field of gun violence and intervention prevention, and to support the Cal VIP grantees as well as our other community violence intervention efforts statewide. Assembly Bill 28, also known as the Gun Violence Prevention and School Safety Act, took effect on July 1st of 2024 and changed the funding source of the Cal VIP grant program. The new law imposes 11% excise tax on the sale of firearms and ammunition. Revenues collected from this new tax are deposited in the Gun Violence Prevention and School Safety Fund. The first 75 million in the fund will be continuously appropriated to BSCC annually for the CalVIP grant program. Initial budget projections show that the BSCC will receive 55 million in fiscal year 2024 and 25, and 57 million in fiscal year 2025 and 26 from this new tax revenue. These funds will be released through the RFP for cohort 5, which will be coming to you in the next agenda item. 5% of the total available CalVIP grant funds will be set aside to support AB 762 objectives. It's important to note that the board had previously approved 3.6 million in CalVIP set aside funds for cohort 4, and approximately 3.1 million of this remains unallocated. The additional 1.75 million from the 2023 budget is also available for the same purposes, bringing the grand total of funds available to 10.5 million. The proposed plan. CalVIP Executive Steering Committee met on December 2nd, 2024, and recommends allocating the set-aside funds into 6 initiatives to support capacity building, technical assistance, training efforts for both CalVIP grantees and the CVI field statewide. The chart on this slide shows the 6 categories the ESC identified and the total amount of funding allocated to each. Descriptions of the type of activities that ESC would like to see implemented for each of these categories is provided in the board report, and I will discuss them briefly now. The total funding in the first category is $3 million for the training and certification for frontline workers and culturally relevant professional development for community-based organizations. Frontline workers are defined as those who are working directly with individuals impacted by gun violence, such as street outreach workers. This category also targets other professionals working inside organizations dedicated to violence intervention. The BSCC plans to administer these funds through 1 or more service contracts selected via a competitive bidding process. Priority for enrollment and training opportunities funded in this category will be given to the staff of CalVIP grantees, both cohorts 4 and 5, and available to other CVI professionals statewide as funds allow. The total funding in the next category is $1.5 million for technical assistance for data collection and evaluation efforts. Currently, the BSCC is under contract with an outside evaluator that has provided technical assistance support to CalVIP cohort 4 grantees in meeting their data collection, quarterly progress reporting, and outcome evaluation efforts. Some of the tools developed by this contractor have been made available on the BSCC website for the use of the entire field. The CalVIP ESC chose to continue these efforts for cohort 5. The BSCC plans to administer these funds through 1 or more service contracts selected via a competitive bidding process. The total funding for the third category is $300,000 for convening capacity in the CVI field. The BSCC plans to collaborate with the Attorney General's Office of Gun Violence Prevention to organize 1 or more convenings with CalVIP grantees and CVI professionals statewide. The purpose of these convenings will be to provide training, share best practices, address challenges in the field, and learn about state and national trends and network with other CVI service providers. The total funding in the fourth category is $2,750,000 for technical assistance and capacity building support for nonprofit organizations. The BSCC plans to administer these funds through 1 or more service contracts selected via a competitive bidding process. These technical assistance and training resources will be made available to all organizations in the CVI field statewide, not just CalVIP grantees. This includes new organizations and those seeking to build capacity for future grant funding opportunities. The fifth category funding is $1 million for grant management support for CalVIP grantees. Recognizing that there are many grantees that need assistance in meeting the BSCC's financial and programmatic reporting requirements, the CalVIP ESC chose to dedicate a portion of available funds to support these efforts. The BSCC plans to administer these funds through 1 or more service contracts selected via a competitive bidding process. These efforts will be targeting CalVIP grantees, with a focus on struggling CBOs. The total funding in the sixth and final category is $2 million for mental health services for frontline professionals and their families. AB 762 provided these funds could be used to provide mental health support and services to frontline community gun violence intervention and services, or financial assistance to family members and workers who are killed or violently injured in the performance of their work. The ESC voted the funds in this category should be distributed on a formula basis to the CBO grantees and contractors after the award. This clause will be included in Cohort 5's request for proposals. In conclusion, staff recommends that the board approve the CalVIP Executive Steering Committee's plan for distribution of the CalVIP set-aside funds for technical assistance, program support, and capacity building efforts as authorized in AB 62. Also, authorize BSCC staff to implement and administer the plan with authority to make necessary adjustments as needed. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Board Member Janet Gard for her outstanding leadership as the chairperson of the CalVIP Cohort 5 Executive Steering Committee. I also extend my gratitude to all members of the Executive Steering Committee for their dedication and commitment to the success of the CalVIP program. This concludes my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions from the board.
Thank you, Tony. Sorry. Does the board have any questions or comments?
This is Janet Gard. Well, on paper, I was the chair. I have to say, though, that this is an area that I didn't have a lot of expertise. I learned a tremendous amount. And that was due to the incredible expertise and generosity of the people who were members of the ESC and also this incredible staff. And I would like to call them out. You're going to, I think, meet all of them here, but Colleen and Tony and Mike and Katie were just phenomenal. And every time I work with a group of staff from this organization, I am so proud of being a part of it. I am consistently impressed beyond what my expectations are, and they're already high. So I just want to thank them and the board members who really put a lot of thought and heart into getting the best product they could for this and the next agenda item. So thank you.
Thank you. And as you know, we appreciate all your efforts. Anyone else from the board have any comments? I can't see in the room, so you have to help me. Anything?
No other comments in the room,
Okay,
Madam Chair.
appreciate that. Any public comments on this matter?
You have a public comment, please raise your hand for agenda item C. If you're in the boardroom, proceed to the podium. I'm not seeing any public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking for a motion in a second, please.
I would move to approve this agenda item.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Thank you. Can we take the roll, please?
Chair Penner,
Aye.
Mr. McCumber,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Taylor,
Aye.
Ms. Branning is en route, Ms. Gard,
Aye.
Ms. Zaragoza,
Aye.
Ms. Lai,
Aye.
and Mr. Haynes, Mr. Scott, Mr. Budnick, Ms. Kumpion recused. Madam Chair, we have enough votes for motion to carry for agenda item C, but we're going to keep the roll open for Ms. Branning to vote.
Thank you. And I'm assuming the same recusals will hold on the next agenda item, and we'll go forward with that.
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item D. All right. Did you leave? Oh, no, it's Mike this time. Hello, Mike. Are you there?
Yeah.
Great.
Good morning, Linda.
Morning. While we're getting through our technical part, I think Board Member McCumber is talking bold and loud just to make me feel bad about my voice every time he votes. I'd like the record to reflect that. All right, are we ready?
Yes. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Mike Martinez. I'm a field representative in the Correction Planning and Grants Program Division. I'm here to present item D, requesting board approval to release a request for proposals for the California Violence Intervention and Prevention Grant Program, also known as CalVIP, for cohort 5 as recommended by the CalVIP Executive Steering Committee. This RFP, which is available as attachment D1 to the board report, will make approximately $103 million available to eligible cities, counties, tribes, and the community-based organizations that serve them. Grant funds must be used to develop and support evidence-based community gun violence reduction initiatives that seek to interrupt cycles of community gun violence and retaliation. Before I get into details, I'll provide a little bit of background information. My colleague Tony did provide a lot of that information, so bear with me if it sounds a little bit redundant, but nonetheless, over the past 7 years, Board of State Community Corrections has administered 4 rounds of CalVIP funding that have provided more than $250 million to California cities and community-based organizations for local violence intervention and prevention efforts. Up to now, the CalVIP grant was available only to eligible cities and community-based organizations that were disproportionately impacted by violence. And there was, up to now, there was a 100% match required on the grant. Well, as my colleague mentioned, new legislation enacted last year, which was Assembly Bill 762, brought critical changes to the grant. So now, in addition to cities and community-based organizations, you could also have counties and tribes that are disproportionately impacted by violence. Those are also eligible to apply. I'll cover eligibility in more detail on a later slide, but there is no match requirement in cohort 5 for grantees. Also, Board of State Community Corrections were required to advance 20% of a grantee's total award at the start of their grant period to help them with startup, to get them going on their programs and services. Again, there's a noteworthy change to the source of funding for the CalVIP grant. As was mentioned, CalVIP had been funded out of the state's general fund at $9 million per year with several one-time augmentations. But effective this past July 1st, 2024, the grant's now funded by a new tax on guns and ammunition. Revenues collected from this new tax are deposited annually into the Gun Violence Prevention and School Safety Fund and used to support several violence prevention, education, and response programs that includes CalVIP. First $75 million in the fund, or as much of that is available, is going to be allocated annually to the Board of State Community Corrections for CalVIP. Budget projections show that BSCC will receive $55 million in the current fiscal year and approximately $57 million next fiscal year. BSCC will make these first 2 allocations available through this request for proposals. After deducting the $2 million annual set aside for administrative costs and 5% designated for capacity building efforts, which you previously voted on the prior agenda item, Board of State Community Corrections anticipates there will be approximately $103 million available for our local grants. I'll talk for a minute about eligibility. Authorizing statute limits eligibility to cities and tribes that are disproportionately impacted by gun violence and the CBOs that serve them. Counties that have 1 or more eligible cities within their jurisdiction are also eligible. Again, legislation defined that a city is disproportionately impacted by gun violence if it experienced 20 or more homicides per year during 2 or more of the 3 preceding calendar years, 10 or more homicides per year during 2 or more of the 3 preceding calendar years, and a homicide rate that was 50% higher than the statewide rate, or had a unique and compelling need. A city has a unique and compelling need if it is ranked in the top 25% for assault with the firearm statewide and had at least 25 assaults with the firearm incidents during 2 or more of the 3 preceding calendar years. Using these 3 criteria, the CalVIP Executive Steering Committee determined that there are 63 cities, 19 counties, and 47 tribes that are eligible to apply for CalVIP Cohort 5 grant funds. CBOs that serve eligible cities and tribes are also eligible to apply. A list of all eligible cities, counties, and tribes can be found in attachment D3 to the board report. Next, I'll discuss funding thresholds. The CalVIP Executive Steering Committee decided that half of the available funds should be set aside for cities, counties, and tribes, and half of the available funds be set aside for CBOs. That's community-based organizations. Within that breakdown, the Executive Steering Committee set funding caps for different types of applicants. Eligible large cities and counties may apply for up to $5 million. Eligible small to medium cities and counties may apply for up to $2 million. Eligible community-based organizations may apply for up to $5 million for a large scope project or $1 million for a small scope project. Eligible tribes may apply for up to $3 million. All city and county applicants must pass through 50% of grant funds to one or more community-based organizations, tribes, or public agencies that are not law enforcement that are dedicated to community safety or violence prevention. This last slide shows a proposed timeline for implementation of the Cohort 5 CalVIP grant. We expect to come before you in November with funding recommendations. Grant terms will begin on January 1st, 2026, and grantees will have 3 years to deliver services with a 6-month tail for evaluation and audit purposes. Grants will conclude on June 30th, 2029. In conclusion, staff recommends that the board approve the release of the California Violence Intervention and Prevention Grant Program Cohort 5 request for proposals as recommended by the CalVIP Executive Steering Committee.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Any questions or comments from the board members?
Yes, this is Janet Guard. I don't want
Very-
to pass up another opportunity to say thank you to the ESC and to the BSCC staff who worked diligently to produce an RFP that we really think is going to go far to make significant differences.
Yeah.
And so,
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate your efforts, Janet, for staying with us on these 2 items.
Yeah, and again, thank you, Janet, for chairing the executive steering. So thank you.
Okay. Any other members of the board wish to make comments? Any members of the public?
If you have a public comment for agenda item D, please raise your hand. Do we have any commenters with you, Dr. Lai?
No.
There's no public comment.
Thank you. I'm looking for a motion and a second, please.
A motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Take the roll, please.
Chief Penner,
Aye.
Mr. McCumber,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Taylor,
Aye.
Ms. Branning is en route, Ms. Guard,
aye.
Ms. Zaragoza,
Aye.
Ms. Lai,
Aye.
Mr. Haynes, Mr. Scott, Mr. Butnick, and Ms. Kumpion recused. We have enough votes for the motion to carry for agenda item D, but we'll keep the roll open for Chief Branning.
Thank you. I think we're ready to move on to item E, and I assume Chief Haynes is going to take the reins.
I believe he is coming back, so we will
Okay.
get the recusals back in here.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Do we have any ETA on Chief Branning?
It was she was on her pass about an hour ago.
Oh, my
So,
goodness. Poor thing. Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, is the gavel back in my hands, Chair Pinner? Yeah. Is it me? Okay, looks like it is here. And I see Ian's ready to rock and roll, right?
Hey, you will, sir.
All right, so we are at item, I'm assuming we're at item number B or E? E? So we're at the Burns State Crisis Intervention Program Grant.
Yes, sir.
All right, cohort 2. And we've got, let me see, where are we at? Let me find my notes.
And
All right, so I see that Judge Guard has recused herself from this item. And we have Ian Silva here to present the information on the,
and Chief Scott, I believe you want to recuse on this item as well.
okay, and so Chief Scott as well. And then as soon as we're ready, Ian, then you go ahead with your presentation once Chief is out of the room.
Ready, sir?
You're good. Go ahead, Ian. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, board members. My name is Ian Silva. I'm Field Representative with the Corrections Planning and Grants Program Division. I'm presenting agenda item E, requesting approval to release a request for proposals for cohort 2 of the Burns State Crisis Intervention Program, or Burns SCIP as we call it. The Burns SCIP program was authorized by the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act of 2022 to implement state firearms crisis intervention court proceedings and related programs or initiatives. As required by the Bureau of Justice Assistance, your board established the Burns State Crisis Advisory Board in February of 2023 to inform and guide the BSCC's Burns SCIP program. On November 21st of 2024, the advisory board approved the updated SCIP program and budget plan, which BJA then approved on December 9th. The approved plan included the development and release of an RFP to implement the federally required pass-through of $6.1 million to units of local government, which will be combined with $5.1 million of fiscal year 2022-23 funds that were not awarded in the prior RFP. The draft of the current RFP and approved plan are available in your materials as attachment E1 and E3. As provided for by the approved plan, eligible applicants for this competitive RFP will be California cities and counties. Applicants will be allowed to request funding for small scope projects up to $500,000 or large scope projects up to $1 million for a total of $11.2 million. Successful applicants will be funded for a grant period from July 2025 through September of 2027. Current SCIP grantees will be eligible to apply if they propose a project that is separate from their current grant and designate a different lead public agency to administer the new project. The RFP requires proposed programs to address at least one of 3 program purpose areas, or PPAs, which are based on allowable activities listed in the federal solicitation for Burns SCIP. The PPAs for this RFP are PPA 1, Communication, Education, Outreach, and Public Awareness. PPA 2, Referrals to Community-Based Services for People in Crisis. And PPA 3, Funding for Law Enforcement Crisis Intervention Programs or Initiatives. I'd like to pause briefly to note that the proposed project activities have been updated in this RFP to mirror minor changes in the project activities listed in the most recent BJA solicitation, which clarified the type of activities Burns SCIP funds. If approved by the board today, the RFP will be released today, February 13th, with a due date for proposals of April 7th of 2025. Funding recommendations will be presented to the SKIP Advisory Board on July 11th, 2025, with an anticipated start date of August 1st, 2025 for funded projects. Staff is also requesting the establishment of a scoring panel to be convened in lieu of the Burn SKIP Advisory Board to read and rate proposals submitted in this RFP. In response to this RFP, if necessary, internal staff may be used to supplement the scoring panel. In conclusion, staff recommends the board take the following actions. Approve the release of the Burn State Crisis Intervention Program Cohort 2 RFP. Delegate authority to the Burn SKIP Advisory Board Chair to work with staff to establish a diverse scoring panel with relevant subject matter expertise and to modify the membership as needed to include including the potential inclusion of BSCC staff as raters. Additionally, because BJA will require certification of the SKIP Advisory Board's approval of grant awards, and most members of the BSCC board are on the advisory board, staff also recommends the board delegate authority to Burn SKIP Advisory Board to approve awards, and that awards approved by the Burn SKIP Advisory Board shall have the same legal force and effect as if approved by the BSCC board. Finally, I would like to thank members of the SKIP Advisory Board for their guidance and help in developing the Burn SKIP Grant Program. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions the board may have.
All right, thank you so much, Ian. Are there any questions from any of the board members, either in the room or on Zoom at all? All right, I am seeing no board comments. Is there any public comment, Natalia, regarding this item?
You have a public comment for agenda item E. Please raise your hand. I don't see any on Zoom right now. Dr. Lai, do you have any at your location?
No.
And we don't have any in person, so there are no public comment.
All right, thank you so much. With that, then I will entertain a motion for approval of this item.
Motion.
All right.
Second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Budnick and Mr. Johnson for those motions, and we'll have the roll call.
Chair Haynes,
Yes.
Ms. Penner,
Aye.
Mr. McCumber,
Mr. McCumber there?
Mr. McCumber,
All right. It looks
Mr.
like he's
Johnson?
not there.
Aye.
Mr. Taylor,
Aye.
Ms. Branning is en route, Mr. Budnick,
Aye.
Ms. Zaragoza,
Aye.
Ms. Kumpion,
Aye.
Ms. Lai,
Aye.
Mr. McCumber, are you back yet? We have enough votes for the motion to carry for agenda item E, but we'll hold the roll open for Chief Branning and Mr. McCumber. And we have Ms. Guard, Mr. Scott recused.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And next, we will move on to agenda item F, our local detention facilities inspections update. And this item is going to be presented by our acting director, Steve Wicklander. Good morning, Steve. Good to see you.
And if you could hold just for a moment, Mr. Chair, while we get our recused members. back.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. All right, we got Judge Guard and Chief Scott making their way back to their seats. All right, for Judge Guard and for Chief Scott, now we're at agenda item F, the local detention facilities update. And our acting deputy director, Steve Wicklander, is going to provide that presentation for us. Thanks, Steve.
Morning, Chair Haynes, board members, colleagues, and community members. I'm Stephen Wicklander. I'm the Acting Deputy Director for the Facilities, Standards, Operations, and the County Facilities Construction Divisions. I'm here this morning to provide a regular update on the status of our facility inspections and outstanding items of non-compliance. You have copies of the reports in your binders or on your tablets, and the information is also available online. The FSO has completed the 2023-2024 comprehensive and targeted inspection cycle. The comprehensive inspection cycle for the 2025 and 2026 inspection cycle has started as of January 1, 2025. I'll begin with an update on the adult facility inspections. We have no outstanding correction items of noncompliance at this time for 2025, even though we started just recently. But there are a few outstanding items of noncompliance from 2024 from the targeted inspections. The FSO team is working with those 5 agencies to go ahead and get those items corrected, hopefully shortly. Our website dashboard provides summaries of the details of each item of noncompliance. With that said, the noncompliance items do not rise to the level of requesting a sheriff to appear before the board at this time. Moving on to our juvenile facilities, there are no outstanding items of noncompliance in the juvenile facilities from 2024 annual inspections, except for the outstanding issues with the Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall, which Executive Director McGuire has already covered. This concludes my formal presentation, but I am happy to answer any questions you might have at this time.
All right, thank you so much, Steve. Any board comments or questions for Steve? Either in the room or online. And I'm not seeing any right now. Oh, no, I do. I see Ms. Zaragoza, you have your hand up.
Yes, did I hear that there are no issues of noncompliance for juvenile facilities other than LP?
Yes.
So there's nothing that carried over from, I'm specifically inquiring about Barry J. Nydorf.
They are clear from their inspections and their noncompliance.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Steve? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to public comment. Natalia, do we have any public comment on Zoom?
Yes, we do. Can we get the timer up?
Hello, good morning. This is Yusef Miller, the North County Equity and Justice Coalition, Saving Lives in Custody, California. And when it comes to detention centers, particularly youth and adult in probation, we have these third-party rehab and rehabilitation type of housing. And I don't know if this board is responsible for those updates on those as well, but I would like to hear what those updates are. We've had in San Diego County a death in one of those that is not reported in our annual or updates on in custody deaths, but those people fall under probation, which falls under the sheriff's department in my county at least. So I was hoping that we could give more clarification on what is the responsibility of the BSCC and or the sheriff's department on these third-party housings, especially if people are losing their lives in there, which means we don't have a full count of what the issue is in custody deaths. And the same when it comes to, as was said by Ms. Paloma Serna, that when we have compassionate releases, we don't track them through our in custody deaths, but sometimes the event that caused them to go to the hospital and need a compassionate release because they won't make it happened in our custody. So the true picture of our in custody death issue or crisis is not fully understood, at least by the community. And we're looking for more transparency on that. So accountability is accountability. And we need to make sure that we have that transparency to see what's wrong so we can reach in and fix that issue. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you
Natalia, before we go to the next caller, do we want to at least address that question, or
I
do
will
we
look
want to
into
do
that
that?
question on the third parties, but right now we inspect the local facilities that are under the regulations.
Right, and so that's, the local facilities are under the BSCC's purview,
Correct.
but not necessarily the third party.
I will look into that.
We look into it. Okay, thank you. All right, let's go into our next public comment.
Khadija Bailey, you can unmute yourself. We will move to Lauren Wilcock. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Lauren Wolchok. I am a physician and I used to work at Men's Central Jail in Los Angeles. I just I wanted to, I noticed that item G was struck from the agenda today, looking at Los Padrinos suitability. And I wanted to encourage that when that item is considered, that we find Los Padrinos unsuitable and order it to be closed because it has not yet met it's out of compliance with the state guidelines and recommendations. So I just wanted that to be voiced, and when that is under consideration, to know that physicians do not find that facility to be suitable. I yield my time.
Thank you.
Paloma Serna, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, yes, Paloma Serna with North County Equity Justice Coalition and Saving Lives in Custody, California. I'm the mother of Elisa Serna, who died in custody in San Diego County. So, to echo what Yusuf was stating about, we need to find out more about these compassion release. On December of last year, I believe on the 25th, we had an in custody death, and en route to the hospital, the individual passed away. And so this is very alarming to know that the sheriff is starting to practice this type of behavior to keep their in custody numbers low. We need more accountability and transparency. The public is not notified about these compassion release deaths. We had a family reach out. Their son had a mental illness, and he was housed with with an individual that pretty much beat him almost to death, and he was put into a coma for 10 months. And the sheriff did a compassion release, and this individual, Eric Van Tyne, ended up dying. And his family did reach out, and the sheriff is not releasing that information. We would have never known that this death took place if it wasn't because of the family. So we need investigations, we need numbers, we need to see what's going on and why these people are not being taken care of in custody. Thank you.
Thank you. Khadija Bailey, you can unmute yourself if you still want to make a public comment. Do we have any commenters with you, Dr. Lai?
No.
And we don't have any in the room, so that is it for public comment.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Now, this is an informational item, so there is no board action requiring a vote. So thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate that. All right.
I do want to interject and speak to the comment by Mr. Miller. I think he is referring to, there is a type 4 facility that's down in San Diego that there is a private contract that operates that facility. We do inspect that facility, however.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Aaron. And then before we move on to our next item for public comment, I did want to make note that Chief Branning was able to make it through the snow and the rain and the freeway car accidents. And so I just want to say thank you so much for making the effort to be here. And then Natalia or Aaron, how do we want to proceed on any of those previous items that Chief Branning wasn't available to participate?
We can go ahead, Chief Branning, if you're up for it, that we would take up items A, B, C, D to add on Chief Branning. So to ask, and Chief Branning, just to clarify, I'm leaving you off of agenda item E because we believe you were interested in recusing from that item. So items A through D. So with that, I'd ask Natalia to call the roll just for Chief Branning.
So for agenda items A and B.
A, B,
consent
C, and
items,
D.
Or all of them at the same time? Okay, A,
Yeah.
B, C, and D. Ms. Branning? The motion carries for agenda items A, B, C, and D.
All right, thank you. And then, I know Secretary McCumber wasn't available on that last item prior to this. Is he not still in the, he's still not in the Zoom room either, right? He did. Oh, there he is. Raised hand. Secretary McCumber, can you?
He'll be joining us in just a second.
Okay, all right. So do you want us to move on to public comment before we do that? Oh, there he is.
Yeah, was that agenda item E that Mr. McCumber was off of? Okay. So let's go ahead and call the roll for Mr. McCumber for agenda item E.
Mr. McCumber?
Aye.
The motion carries for agenda item E.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll close the roll for all items. Thank
Right,
you.
and so we'll close the roll for all of those items. And so thank you so much for that. And now, before we move on to our last item, which is, includes our public comments on any other matter that's pertaining to the board that is not on the agenda, I will let you know that after that item, the board is going to move into a closed session this afternoon and will not be making any further comment on any other matter other than to adjourn the meeting. Is that accurate, Aaron?
Yes.
All right. Good deal. So now we are open for item 5, which is our public comment period. And again, this is public comment about any other matter pertaining to the board that is not on today's agenda. It may be heard at this time. And so Natalia, do we have any public comment in the queue right now?
Yes, we do. If you have a public comment, please raise your hand. And right now we have Yusuf Miller. You can unmute yourself.
Yes, good morning. It's Yusef Miller, North County Equity and Justice Coalition, Saving Lives in Custody, California. And as I'm looking at your schedule, I don't see when you guys are coming back down to Southern California. I remember you came to Riverside County. You had planned to come to Orange County, but that was scrapped. But we'd appreciate it if you could come around and make your rounds throughout the state. I know it's probably a lot of work to do, but it is appreciated when it comes to certain areas. We had a nice show out in Riverside County when you guys came down, and we get to meet you guys face to face and discuss some issues. So it is really important that when you consider your schedule for the year, that you spread the wealth throughout the county. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tina Curiel, did you have a comment? You can unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you, and I'll be brief. Thank you for your time. My name is Tina Curiel. I handle communications for the Center on Juvenile and Criminal Justice. I have also sat on the ESC last time for the CalVIP, and currently for the Adult Reentry Steering Committee for the ESC. So I am aware of the scope of the BSCC's work. So I have a general question about looking for updates surrounding the 4 work groups that were created in 2024 during the Title 15 and 24 revision process. I'm just going to read through. I have them written down because it's kind of a little bit convoluted. Wondering what the status is of these work groups. Like I said, there were 4 of them: nutrition, health and mental health, environmental health, and education. And then wondering if there's red line items or drafts that the public should be made aware of. And if so, when we're going to be able to see those. And wondering when the SYTF committee will meet again. And I haven't heard anything about Title 24. I don't know where where are we with those revisions? I think it has to do with like energy and building standards and different types of ways of efficiency. And just wondering also when the complete set of proposed revisions for Titles 15 and 24 will be posted for public review. And I'll yield the rest of the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any public commenters with you, Dr. Lai?
No, we do not.
We have another one, Nancy Juarez. You can unmute yourself.
Nancy, are you there?
And that's it for public comment unless we can get Nancy. And we don't have any in the room.
Okay. Then thank you. We'll go ahead and close out the queue for public comment there. I'm not sure if we wanted to address the question that came from Ms. Curiel regarding the Title 15 regulations, she was asking for an update in that in regard. So I'm not sure if we want to, how we would want to proceed
Sure,
there.
I can give just a very brief update. The work groups are concluded. They're done their work. Staff is still in the process of going through all the recommendations of the work groups. We hope to have we're doing internal reviews. There's that we're working through right now. We hope that there'll be a draft available for red line draft for public comment in about 6 weeks.
Okay.
And we'll understand the process has been very slow, and
Yeah.
we are working on it.
Okay, thank you so much for that. That's going to be the end of our public comment. Now, we're going to be moving into our closed session, and I'm not sure if we need to make an announcement, but I believe Judge Guard is going to recuse herself from this closed session.
Judge Gard is going to recuse herself from this closed session, and then for our board members on Zoom, you should have received a calendar invite from me. Go ahead and log out of this meeting and go ahead and use that link, and we will get that link set up shortly.
And then just a reminder to folks that the board, once we close out our closed session item, we will not be making any further comment on any other matter other than to adjourn today's meeting.
Yep.
Okay, thank you so much. We just adjourned our closed session. And so I want to say thank you to everyone. We will see you back here on April the 10th, 2025. But this meeting of the Board of State Community Corrections for today is now adjourned. Thank you so much. Be careful getting home. All right.